He called me a failure. Then a wealthy woman promised me a future worth more. The words hit like a freight train barreling through the quiet of our family kitchen. The kind of morning where the coffee's too bitter, and the Illinois frost clings to the windows like unspoken regrets. You're a failure, Alex. $30 an hour slinging lattes? That's not a life. That's pity. Dad's voice cracked on the last word, not from softness, but from the weight of his own broken dreams, the factory job that chewed him up and spit him out back in '08. He slammed his mug down, the ceramic clink echoing sharper than any slap, steam curling up like the smoke from his Marlboros he swore he'd quit. I stood there, apron still tied around my waist from the overnight shift at the corner cafe. The scent of burnt espresso and spilled milk clinging to my skin like failure itself. My chest tightened, breath catching in that ragged way it does when the world's edges blur, and you wonder if he's right. At 28, with a camera bag slung over my shoulder full of half-developed dreams, and a lease on a shoebox apartment that leaked when it rained, yeah, maybe I was. But it wasn't just the words. It was the way his eyes, those same blue ones I inherited, looked right through me like I was the ghost of Mom, who bailed when I was 12 chasing some artist in New York who promised her the stars. Get your shit together or don't come back, he growled, turning away to the sink, water rushing loud enough to drown out my heartbeat. I grabbed my keys, the jangle a pathetic rattle against the silence, and bolted into the gray dawn. The cold bit at my cheeks as I jogged down the cracked sidewalk of our South Side neighborhood, past the boarded-up storefronts and the kids already yelling over hopscotch grids chalked in faded pink. My phone buzzed. Another rejection email from a gallery in the loop. Your work lacks emotional depth. Bullshit. If they only knew the ache I poured into every shutter click, capturing the raw pulse of this city. Lovers stealing kisses in alley shadows, old men feeding pigeons with trembling hands, the endless grind that mirrored my own. By noon, I was nursing a black coffee in Millennium Park, the bean reflecting a distorted version of myself back at me, freckles stark against pale skin, auburn hair tangled from the wind off Lake Michigan. That's when she appeared, not like some fairy tale entrance but real, stepping out of a sleek black Audi with the poise of someone who owned the air around her. Jordan Hale. 35, sharp as a switchblade, with a bob of jet black hair that framed her face like a frame around a masterpiece. She was in a tailored wool coat, the kind that screamed boardrooms and bottom lines, but her hazel eyes, God, those eyes, held a warmth that cut through the chill. She wasn't just wealthy. She was the kind of successful that built empires from code, CEO of HaleTech, the app that revolutionized how freelancers connected gigs. I'd read about her in Forbes, the queer icon who donated millions to LGBTQ centers, but seeing her up close? She moved like the city bent to her rhythm. Our eyes locked as she paused by the bean, snapping a photo with her phone, the shutter click pulling me from my spiral. Mind if I join? This reflection's better with company. Her voice was low, laced with that East Coast edge, New York transplant I guessed later, smooth like aged whiskey. I nodded, words stuck in my throat, and she slid onto the bench, crossing her legs with effortless grace. Up close, she smelled like vanilla and rain-damp leather, a far cry from the stale diner grease I reeked of. We talked easy at first about the light hitting the steel just right, how Chicago's winters forged something unbreakable in you. Then it spilled out unbidden. Dad's words, the rejections, the gnawing fear that I'd peak here invisible. She listened, really listened, her gaze never wavering, fingers tracing the rim of her to-go cup in slow circles. Failure's just feedback, Alex. The world's full of men like your dad, measuring worth in paychecks. But you? I see fire in those shots you're carrying. She nodded at my bag, and something in her tone, a quiet command wrapped in kindness, made my pulse stutter. That night, as the city lights flickered on like hesitant stars, she invited me to her penthouse overlooking the river. Not a date, she said with a wink, just perspective. The elevator ride up was silent, charged, the mirrored walls throwing back our reflections, me in my faded jeans and flannel, her in silk that whispered against her skin. Her place was all glass and steel, minimalist lines that screamed control, but the view? Breathtaking, the Chicago River snaking below like a silver vein. She poured us scotch neat, the burn sliding down my throat like truth, and we stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, the distant hum of traffic a lullaby. "I was you once," she confessed, her breath fogging the glass. 28, crashing on friends' couches in Brooklyn, coding apps on a laptop that overheated like my ambition. My father, Wall Street shark, called me a dyke disappointment when I came out. Said I'd ruin the family name. Her laugh was bitter, a soft exhale that carried the weight of old wounds. I turned, our shoulders brushing, and in that electric inch between us I saw it, the mirror of my pain in her strength. We didn't kiss that night. Not yet. But as she walked me to the door, her hand lingered on my arm, thumb brushing my wrist in a way that sent sparks skittering up my spine. "Come work for me, Alex. Hale Tech needs a creative eye. Shoot our campaigns, tell stories through your lens. Not charity. Opportunity." Her eyes held mine, promising more than a job. A future where failure wasn't the end but the spark. I hesitated, the echo of Dad's voice warring with the pull of her gaze. "Why me?" I whispered, voice cracking. She smiled, slow and devastating. "Because I see you. All of you." The door clicked shut behind me, but her words echoed louder than the elevator's ding, pulling me into a current I couldn't fight. Days blurred into a fever dream after that. I quit the cafe, screw the lattes, and dove into Hailtech's world. Sleek offices in the Loop, teams of coders hunched over screens like alchemists, the air buzzing with innovation and the faint scent of fresh brewed pour-overs. Jordan kept her distance at first, professional, her emails crisp with feedback on my test shoots. Deeper shadows here. Let the light fight for it. But in stolen moments, the brush of her fingers handing over a revised brief, the way she'd lean in during reviews, her perfume wrapping around me like a secret, we ignited. One evening after a late brainstorm, the office emptying out like a retreating tide, she found me in the studio, adjusting lights for a promo set. Rain lashed the windows, thunder rumbling low like a lover's growl. "You're a natural," she murmured, stepping close, her reflection haloed in the softbox glow. I turned, heart hammering, and there it was, the question in her eyes, the same one burning in mine. Our first kiss tasted like rain and risk, her lips soft but insistent, hands framing my face as if I were fragile art. I melted into her, the world narrowing to the silk of her blouse under my palms, the hitch in her breath mirroring my own. We stumbled back against the editing desk, papers scattering like confetti, her fingers threading through my hair with a urgency that spoke of years held back. "Alex," she gasped against my neck, voice roughened by want. "I've wanted this since the bean." The confession undid me, tears pricking as I pulled her closer, our bodies aligning in a rhythm as old as longing. That night, in her penthouse again, we explored each other with the reverence of survivors, trails of kisses down collarbones, whispers of "you're enough" between sighs, the sheets tangling around us like promises kept. Her touch was electric, knowing, erasing the ghosts of doubt with every caress, every shared moan echoing off the high ceilings. But Chicago winters don't thaw easy, and neither did the storm brewing back home. Dad's calls went unanswered at first, then turned venomous, voicemails laced with slurs when he pieced together my new gig from a mutual friend. "That woman's turning you, Alex. Come home before it's too late." The words clawed at me, especially after our first fight with Jordan. Petty, really, over my long hours chasing a perfect shot while she juggled mergers. "You're pulling away," she'd accused, voice tight in the dim kitchen light, the sizzle of garlic on the stove underscoring the tension. I snapped back. "Maybe because every time I succeed it feels like I'm failing you." Failing him. The air thickened, her eyes flashing hurt before she stormed to the balcony, city lights blurring through unshed tears. I followed, wrapping arms around her from behind, the chill seeping through our clothes. "I'm scared," I admitted, chin on her shoulder, inhaling the familiar vanilla. "Of losing this. Of proving him right." She turned, cupping my face, her thumbs wiping rain, or was it tears, from my cheeks. "Then fight for us. Like I fought for me." The climax hit like a blizzard. Dad showed up at the Hale Tech holiday gala, uninvited, face flushed from whiskey and rage, cornering me by the champagne flutes. The ballroom glittered, crystal chandeliers casting diamonds on gowns and tuxes, Jazz quartet weaving sultry notes through the crowd, but his bellow cut through like a siren. This is what you've become? Parading with some rich bitch while your mother's probably whoring in New York. Guests froze, whispers rippling like frost. Jordan materialized at my side, her hand steady on my lower back, voice ice calm. Mr. Rivera, your daughter's built something here. Walk away or security will. He lunged, words spewing venom. Freak. Failure. But I stepped forward, chest heaving, the weight of 28 years crashing down. No, Dad. You're the failure for loving a version of me that never existed. I'm gay. I'm in love. And this. I gestured to Jordan, to the empire we'd woven. This is my life. He staggered back, eyes wild, then deflated, shoulders slumping as the fight drained out. You were always too much like her, he muttered, turning for the exit. The doors whoosh, swallowing his footsteps. The room exhaled, applause tentative at first, then roaring as Jordan pulled me into a fierce embrace, her lips brushing my temple. Proud of you, she whispered, and in that moment, amid the clink of glasses and swell of strings, I felt it. Not just love but worth. Unbreakable. Months unfurled like film strips in the developer, each frame sharper than the last. Spring thawed Chicago's grip, cherry blossoms dusting Grant Park in pink confetti, and with it came a rhythm to us. Jordan and me, two forces colliding into harmony. Morning started tangled in her king-sized bed, sunlight slanting through blinds to paint stripes across her bare back, my fingers tracing the constellation of freckles there like mapping stars. She'd wake with a murmur, pulling me closer, her leg hooking over mine in that possessive way that made my stomach flip. Coffee? She'd ask, voice husky from sleep, and I'd nod, burying my face in the crook of her neck, inhaling the clean scent of her skin mixed with the faint lavender of her sheets. Downstairs, in the kitchen that gleamed like a showroom, she'd grind beans. They were a comforting ritual, while I scrolled through yesterday's shots on my laptop, deleting the blurry ones with a sigh. Work wove us tighter. My role at Hailtech evolved from shooting polished promos to curating user stories. Real freelancers, their triumphs and tumbles captured in gritty golden hour light. Jordan trusted my eye, often joining late-night edits, her chin on my shoulder, breath warm against my ear as she pointed out a stray shadow. There, let it linger. It's honest. Our synergy sparked envy in the office. Whispers followed us down hallways, but we owned it. Hands brushing in elevators, stolen glances over conference tables that promised more. Evenings were ours. Walks along the lakefront, toes sinking into sand still cool from winter, her arm around my waist as gulls wheeled overhead, their cries sharp against the waves' hush. We'd talk dreams, hers of expanding Hailtech to empower queer creators globally, mine of a gallery show that screamed, Alex Rivera, unapologetic. Laughter came easy, her dry wit cutting through my sarcasm like sunlight through fog. But shadows lingered. Dad's silence was a specter, his last words festering like an untreated wound. I'd jolt awake some nights, Jordan's steady breathing the only anchor, replaying that gala scene. His face crumpling, the way the crowd parted like the Red Sea. Guilt gnawed. Was I too harsh? Too late? Jordan sensed it, always, her hand finding mine under the table at dinners with her circle. Sharp-suited execs and artists in lofts, candlelight flickering on wine glasses. He's had years to see you, she'd say later, as we undressed in the half-light, her fingers deft on my buttons. Give him grace but not your power. Her touch that night was gentle, exploratory, lips mapping the curve of my hip, drawing sighs from me like confessions. We moved slow, bodies sinking in whispers and gasps, the rain pattering the windows a soft applause. Afterward, curled against her, heartbeat sinking to hers, I felt the fracture mend a little. Summer scorched in, humidity thick as molasses, turning the city into a steam bath. Hailtech's annual retreat hit the Wisconsin Dells. Cabins by a glassy lake, team-building hikes through pine-scented trails. Jordan and I shared a lakeside suite, the deck overlooking water that lapped lazy at the shore. Days blurred in kayaks and ropes courses, laughter echoing as I captured it all. Colleagues conquering fears, the sun dappling leaves like spilled gold. Nights, though, those were incendiary. Fireflies danced outside as we lit candles inside, her silhouette against the flames hypnotic. One evening after a bonfire where stories flowed freer than the beer, she led me to the dock, stars pricking the velvet sky. "Marry me." The words hung simple, no ring yet, just her eyes gleaming with that fierce certainty. My breath caught, a laugh bubbling up through tears. "Yes," I choked, pulling her down to the weathered wood, our kiss deepening as crickets chorused approval. We made love there, urgent and unhurried, the wood rough under my back, her name a mantra on my lips amid the night's symphony. Back in Chicago, the high carried us but cracks spiderwebbed. A profile in Wired dubbed Jordan, the ice queen of innovation, praising her empire but glossing my contributions as inspirational muse. It stung, that erasure, especially when Dad finally called, voice gravelly, post a stroke that left his left hand trembling. "Saw you in the paper. That woman's got you leashed." Rage flared, hot and immediate. I hurled the phone, screen cracking against the marble counter, Jordan walking in just as the shatter echoed. She didn't pry, just held me as sobs racked, her shirt dampening under my cheek. "He's wrong," she soothed, rocking us on the rug, the city's distant horns a mournful underscore. But doubt crept, insidious. Was I just her pretty accessory? The fight simmered unspoken, until a board meeting where her praise for my latest campaign landed clipped, eyes on her laptop. "It's good. Needs polish." In the hallway after, I cornered her, voice low. "Or is it me that needs polishing? To fit your perfect world?" Her face fell, hazel darkening to storm. "Alex, it's pressure. The expansion deal's teetering." But the seed was planted, and that night, as thunder rolled in from the lake, we clashed proper. Accusations flying like lightning, her admitting the isolation of her throne, me spilling fears of fading into her shadow. Plates clattered in the sink, water splashing cold on heated skin, until she grabbed my wrists, pulling me close. "I need you not as muse, as partner. Equal." The kiss that followed was apology and anchor, fierce, her teeth grazing my lip just enough to draw a gasp. We tumbled to the floor, clothes shedding in a frenzy, bodies reclaiming what words couldn't. The slick slide of skin, her moans vibrating against my throat, climax crashing like waves on jagged rocks. Dawn found us spent, limbs entwined, her whisper featherlight. "Build with me, not behind." Autumn leaves turned the streets to fire, crunching under boots as we prepped the gallery show. My show, fractured frames, raw portraits of queer Chicagoans, their joys and scars etched in emulsion. Jordan funded it quietly, her hand in mine at the opening, the space alive with murmurs and clinking glasses, air thick with possibility. Dad came. Unannounced, cane tapping hesitant on the polished floor. His eyes scanning walls lined with my work. A trans kid's defiant smile, an elder couple's gnarled hands clasped. He paused at mine and Jordan's portrait, us by the bean, reflected infinite, throat working. "It's beautiful," he rasped, voice foreign without venom. No apology but a nod, his hand shaky on my shoulder. As he left, the weight lifted, not gone but lighter. Yet fate twisted sharper. Jordan's deal soured. A rival poaching talent, leaks tracing to an insider. Paranoia seeped, meetings tense, her smile strained. I caught her pacing the balcony one midnight, scotch in hand, city sprawl indifferent below. "What if it all crumbles?" she confessed, vulnerability cracking her armor. I wrapped her up, heart aching at the tremor in her frame. Then we rebuild. Together. Our lovemaking that night was tender, deliberate. Fingers interlacing, gazes locked, her release a soft cry against my palm, mine shuddering in her arms. But dawn brought cops at the door. Embezzlement charges, fabricated, aimed at her throat. The cuffs clicked cold around her wrists, a sound that reverberated like a slammed vault door in the sterile lobby of Hailtech. Dawn's light slanted harsh through the revolving glass, casting long shadows that swallowed the intern's gasps. Jordan didn't flinch, chin lifted in that queenly way, but her eyes, those hazel depths, flicked to mine, a silent plea wrapped in steel. "Hold on." The lead detective, a burly guy with a mustache like a 70s cop show reject, muttered about irregularities in offshore accounts, his badge glinting accusatory. I lunged forward, voice slicing the hush. She's innocent. This is bullshit. A setup. Colleagues murmured. Phones already buzzing with the news rippling out like venom in veins. They led her away, her wool coat draped over the squad car's back as rain began to spit from gray clouds, blurring the taillights into red streaks. The office imploded after. Phones rang off hooks, reporters swarming the curb like vultures, their flashes popping against my retinas as I shouldered through. Inside, chaos. Coders packing laptops with white faces, HR droning legalese over the PA. I locked myself in the studio, the darkroom's red glow a-womb, hands shaking as I poured developer over a fresh roll. Images from Ardell's trip, her laugh frozen mid-frame. Tears plopped into the tray, distorting her smile, and I sank to the floor, knees to chest, the chemical tang burning my nostrils. How? Who? The rival Vortex Dynamics, that sleazy startup poaching our devs, smelled like the culprit, their CEO a smarmy prick I'd met at a mixer. Eyes lingering too long on Jordan with a smirk that said mine. Betrayal tasted metallic, sharper than fear. By noon, I was at her arraignment, the courthouse a tomb of echoing footsteps and stale coffee breath. She stood before the judge in a borrowed suit, hair slightly askew but posture unbroken. Bail set at $1 million, pocket change for her, but the optics screamed guilt. I posted it from our joint account, fingers numb on the counter. The clerk's sympathetic glance a knife twist. She's out by evening, he said, but the hours stretched eternal. Me pacing the marble halls, scent of floor wax and desperation thick. When she emerged, pale but unbroken, I crashed into her arms, burying my face in her neck, her pulse a frantic drum against my cheek. I believe you, I whispered, the words a lifeline. In the car, her hand gripped mine white-knuckled, voice steady but edged. It's fabricated shell companies forged docs. But they'll bury me if we don't fight. We holed up at the penthouse, blinds drawn against the paparazzi drones humming like angry bees outside. Takeout containers piled on the coffee table. Pad thai gone cold, the lime zing soured. As lawyers conferenced in via video, their ties askew outlining defenses. Audits, alibis, the slow grind of justice. Jordan paced, scotch refills sloshing, her usual poise fraying at the edges. I built this from nothing, she snarled at one point, hurling the glass, shards glittering like fallen stars on the hardwood. I crossed to her, arms banding her waist, feeling the tremor ripple through her frame. And we'll rebuild. Our kiss was desperate, teeth clashing in hunger, hands roaming urgent over clothes that felt like barriers. She backed me against the wall, cool plaster biting my shoulders, her thigh pressing between mine with a friction that drew a moan from deep in my chest. We stripped in a whirlwind, bodies colliding on the rug, her mouth hot on my breasts, fingers delving with knowing precision, my nails raking her back as pleasure coiled tight, snapping in waves that left us gasping, slick with sweat and solace. But solace was fleeting. The leaks escalated. Headlines blaring, tech titans empire of lies. Stock plummeting like a stone in the river. Friends distanced, invites dried up, texts went blue-ticked. Even my gallery run buzzed with whispers, patrons eyeing me like a curiosity. Is she next? Accomplice. Isolation clawed. Nights where Jordan stared at the ceiling, insomnia etching lines around her eyes. I traced them with kisses, murmuring stories from my childhood. Mom's wild tales, Dad's rare laughs, to lure her back, our love-making a ritual of reconnection. Slow circles on her clit until she arched, whispering my name like prayer, then her tongue coaxing my surrender, the room filling with our shared breaths, ragged and real. I dove into the fight, hiring a PI on my own dime. A grizzled ex-cop named Ruiz, with a voice like gravel and eyes that missed nothing. We met in dingy diners off Halstead, forks scraping plates of eggs over easy as he laid out threads. Vortex's CEO, Harlan Voss, had a history, embezzlement whispers from his Boston days, a jilted ex-lover turned whistleblower. He's got dirt, Ruiz grunted, slurping coffee black as tar. But proving it? Slippery fucker. I nodded, stomach churning, the diner's fluorescent buzz drilling my skull. Back home, I pieced it with Jordan over whiteboards in the den. Arrows linking dates, dummy core. Her coding skills decrypting encrypted emails swiped from a disgruntled dev, hours bled into dawn. takeout wrappers crunching underfoot, her hand on my thigh a grounding spark amid the frenzy. Thanksgiving loomed a hollow echo. Dad invited us, tentative post-stroke slur softening his words over the phone. Family's family. Jordan arched a brow but squeezed my hand. We went, the old South Side house sagging under autumn rain. Turkey scent wafting from the oven like a truce flag. He shuffled to greet us, cane thumping, eyes skittering over Jordan's coat before settling on me. Smells good, huh? Awkward plates passed, silverware clinking tentative, stories skirting edges. My show, her troubles. Then whiskey loosened tongues. I was wrong, he mumbled, gaze on his plate, potatoes mashed to paste. About you. All of it. The admission hung, heavy as the storm outside, thunder grumbling low. Jordan's foot nudged mine under the table. A silent sea? I reached for his hand, calluses rough against mine. I forgive you, Dad. Not easy but true. As we left, rain sheeting the windshield, her kiss at a stoplight was victory, soft, lingering, tasting of pie and possibility. Winter bit back, snow blanketing the city in hush. Christmas Eve, Ruiz called breakthrough. Voss's ex, a sharp paralegal named Lena, had docs, emails timestamped proving the frame. We met her in a snowy Evanston cafe, steam rising from mugs like secrets shared. Lena's eyes were wary, lined with betrayal, but her voice steady. He used me to plant it. For revenge, Jordan outbid him on talent last year. Handshake sealed alliance, papers rustling like dry leaves. Jordan's relief crashed over her in the car, shoulders shaking with sobs I hadn't seen since her father's funeral. I pulled over, cradling her in the passenger seat. The defrosters hum our only witness. It's ending, I soothed, lips brushing her temple. That night we celebrated primal. Candles guttering low, her body arching under mine on silk sheets. Fingers intertwined as orgasms rippled through us. Cries muffled in pillows. The snow outside a silent benediction. But Voss struck last. New Year's as fireworks bloomed over the lake. A lawsuit dropped. Defamation, countersuit, dragging my name in. Fraudulent influence. The party at her loft, intimate with jazz and champagne. Shattered, guests murmuring as alerts pinged. Jordan's face drained, flute slipping from fingers to shatter on tile. I swept her up, away from eyes, into the bedroom where velvet curtains blocked the revelry. We'll crush him, I vowed, stripping her gown slow, kisses trailing fire down her spine. She turned, eyes blazing. Together. Our joining was defiant, her on top, hips grinding with purpose, my hands guiding, breaths mingling in chants of us. Climax, a shared roar that drowned the distant booms. January's grip was iron, winds howling off the lake like banshees, whipping snow into whiteout blurs that grounded flights and buried cars. The countersuit landed like a gut punch, Voss's lawyers spinning yarns of co-conspirator for me, subpoenas slapping my gallery's door by week's end. Reporters camped the penthouse lobby, their questions a barrage through the intercom. Alex, did Rivera use her position to seduce investors? I slammed the button, heart jackhammering, the marble foyer suddenly claustrophobic. Jordan found me there, curled on the chaise, knees drawn, the chill seeping through my socks. She knelt, hands warm on my shins. They're bluffing, Lena's testimony buries them. But doubt not, her empire fracturing under scrutiny. Stocks tanked further. Key clients bailed. The office a ghost town of flickering screens and empty desks. We lawyered up double. Her team a Shark Tank of Ivy suits. Mine a scrappy queer advocate from Lambda Legal, Elena, with tattoos peeking from cuffs and a laugh like thunder. Strategy sessions dragged in the conference room. Coffee going cold as timelines mapped on dry erase boards. The squeak of markers a grating underscore. Jordan's fire dimmed. She'd stare out at the frozen river, fingers drumming glass, the clink of ice in her tumbler a metronome to her unraveling. Nights I'd coax her to bed early, drawing baths scented with eucalyptus, steam curling like hope. We'd sink in together, her back to my chest, water lapping gentle as my hands soaped her shoulders, thumbs kneading knots. Remember Wisconsin? I'd murmur, lips on her earlobe eliciting a shiver. Lovemaking followed liquid. Her turning in the tub, water sloshing, straddling me with slow rolls that built to gasps, bubbles popping soft against our skin, release washing over us in tandem sighs. Public fallout stung deeper. Social feeds erupted. Trolls spewing slurs, old friends from the cafe days ghosting. Even Dad's church group calling to pray for my soul. A viral thread dissected our relationship. Gold digger or genuine? Photos from the gala twisted into memes. I deleted apps, but the poison lingered. Sleep fractured by nightmares of testifying. Voss's smirk leering. Jordan noticed, pulling me from sheets damp with sweat one dawn. The city's sodium glow filtering orange through cracks. Run with me, she proposed, voice raw. We laced up, pounding sidewalks pre-dawn, breaths puffing white. The slap of Nikes on salted pavement, a rhythm reclaiming control. Her hand in mine at crosswalks, squeeze firm. Anchor. February thawed edges, but tension peaked at depositions. The federal building loomed brutalist, concrete sucking light, halls echoing with heels and hushed deals. Voss sat across the table first, mid-40s, slick hair gelled back, suit tailored sharp, his smile all teeth as he perjured smooth. Ms. Hale coerced funds, Ms. Rivera facilitated. Lies dripped easy, his gaze sliding over me like oil. I held steady, Elena's notes crinkling under my palm, but inside fury boiled for her pain, our stolen peace. Jordan's turn came next day. I waited in the hall, vending machine coffee bitter on my tongue, the fluorescent hum drilling anxiety. When she emerged, composed but eyes red-rimmed, she collapsed against me, whisper fierce. His ex flipped, full confession on record. Victory edged closer, but the toll showed. Her hands trembled signing briefs, appetite waned to nibbles. Valentine's arrived amid the fray, a quiet rebellion. I blindfolded her for the drive. Suburbs to a rented cabin in Indiana dunes, snow-dusted pines whispering welcome. Inside fire crackled greedy, logs popping sparks as I unveiled dinner. Steak searing on cast iron, the sizzle mingling with red wine's berry tang. She laughed, real unguarded, unbinding the scarf to pull me close, kiss tasting of Cabernet. You, she breathed, are my future. We ate cross-legged on the rug, flames dancing, shadows on walls, stories flowing. Her first crush, a tomboy in prep school. My hidden sketches of girls in high school halls. Dessert devolved to us. Chocolate smudged on lips, her tongue tracing it away. Hands wandering under flannel. On the bearskin before the hearth we burned slow. Her fingers painting paths down my belly, mouth following. Drawing whimpers that echoed off beams. Me reciprocating, thighs quaking as she crested. Name a litany. Sleep came deep, her head on my chest, heartbeat lulling like waves. Back in the fray, momentum shifted. Lena testified mid-month, court packed with press, her voice steady under lights. Emails, timestamps, Voss's rage-fueled plot. The judge's gavel cracked like thunder, dismissing charges with prejudice. Voss hauled in irons days later. Jubilation hit the penthouse. Team toasting with vintage bubbly, corks popping triumphant, laughter rebounding off windows now flung wide to spring's tease. Jordan hoisted me onto the island, kiss effervescent, crowd whooping as confetti rained. But in the quiet after, just us on the balcony, city pulsing below, she sagged against the rail. I almost lost you. Tears tracked her cheeks, salt mingling with mine as I held her. Never. Our embrace deepened, hands frantic, clothes pooling at ankles. Against the railing, her back arched to the stars, my touch coaxing cries that blended with distant sirens. Release a cathartic flood. Yet scars lingered. Hailtech limped, rebuilding trust brick by code, layoffs a bitter pill. Jordan stepped back from CEO, installing an interim, focusing on passion projects, queer incubators, grants for artists like me. My show toured, fractured frames hitting Milwaukee, acclaim washing doubt. Dad visited, awkward brunches at diners, his stories halting but present, a bridge forming tentative. One evening, as azaleas bloomed riot in the planters, Jordan knelt in the loft. Ring this time, platinum with sapphire, simple. Worth more than empires, she said, voice thick. Yes shattered from me, pulling her up to seal it, bodies fusing in joy's frenzy. Walls shaking with our rhythm, moans cascading, the future unfolding in every thrust, every gasp. Summer hummed in, heat waves shimmering off asphalt. Lake beaches thronged with bodies seeking cool. Our engagement party, rooftop affair, fairy lights strung like constellations, drew the rebuilt circle. Elena cracking jokes, Ruiz nursing a beer, Dad toasting gruff. Laughter flowed, but under it, Jordan's hand in mine sweated. Fear of jinx? I squeezed back, anchoring. That night, sated on cake and kisses, we slipped away to the hot tub, bubbles churning lazy, her legs around my waist underwater, friction building stealthy to shudders, water sloshing witness to our vow. But autumn whispered warnings. A letter arrived, Voss from prison, suing civilly, dredging old wounds. Defiance rose, but exhaustion too. Therapy sessions unpacked it, couches soft under us. Therapists nod gentle as we voiced fears. Abandonment, unworthiness. Jordan's hand found mine mid-session, fingers lacing solidarity. October's chill crept in on copper leaves, crunching under tires as we drove to the courthouse for Voss's civil trial. Last gasp of his venom, a Hail Mary from bars. The drive was silent mostly, radio murmuring jazz standards, her thumb stroking my knuckles in the passenger seat. Whatever happens, she said, voice low over Coltrane's sax, we're solid. I nodded, throat tight, the skyline receding like a farewell. Inside, the room was stuffy, wood paneling absorbing light. Jury box empty for this bench trial. Voss testified first, shackled but suit-pressed, his narrative a whine. She stole my ideas, Rivera was the bait. Lies layered thick, his eyes avoiding ours, sweat beading temple. Our turn. Lena's affidavits, forensic audits, my own testimony, voice steady recounting the frame, the gala, the love that fortified. Judge's gaze sharpened, pen scratching notes like claws. Adjournment dragged weeks, suspense a slow poison. Jordan threw into work, mentoring sessions at a youth center, her laughter echoing down halls as she taught coding to wide-eyed teens. The scent of chalk and energy drinks her new perfume. I shadowed, camera clicking moments. A girl's aha grin, Jordan's hand on a shoulder, guidance incarnate. It healed us, this giving back, evenings debriefing over falafel wraps on the couch, her feet in my lap, toes wiggling as I massaged. You're my compass, she'd say, pulling me down for lazy kisses that escalated. Couch springs creaking under thrusts, her nails digging crescents, climaxes sinking in whispered O's. Dad's health dipped. Another mini-stroke, hospital sterile with beeps and bleach tang. We visited, Jordan at my side, her presence a shield as nurses bustled. He gripped my hand, feeble, eyes clearer. Proud kid. Of both. The words simple dissolved ice. Tears came mutual, Jordan's arm around us both in the dim room. Monitors a soft heartbeat. Discharge brought him home. Us installing ramps, stocking his fridge. Small axe stitching family. One crisp afternoon, raking leaves in his yard, Jordan joined. Gloves dusted red gold. Her toss of a pile drawing my squeal laugh. Dad watched from the porch, mug steaming, a ghost smile cracking. November elections buzzed, but our world narrowed to wedding plans. Intimate. Atop a rooftop in June, vows under string lights. Dress fittings in bridal boutiques. Mirrors multiplying her elegance. Lace-hugging curves, my tuxedo sharp with bow tie askew. Excitement bubbled, but Voss's shadow loomed. Verdict day dawned foggy. Us in Elena's office. Coffee untouched as the call came. Dismissed, sanctions on him for frivolous suit. Elation exploded. Hugs crushing, Elena's whoop piercing. Jordan's kiss salt-sweet with relief. We celebrated feral. Dinner at a hidden speakeasy, jazz live and low. Her hand up my thigh under the table. Teasing till we bolted to the car, fogged windows in an alley, her on my lap, skirt hiked, rhythm frantic against leather seats, release a muffled cry into her neck. December glittered, holidays reclaimed. Tree trimming in the loft, ornaments tinkling, her reaching high as I accidentally brushed hips, sparking to floor amid pine needles, love-making merry. Her mouth devouring, my fingers curling just so, bells jingling faint from the radio. Family dinner swelled. Dad, Elena, Ruiz, even toasts clinking to new chapters. His gift to us. A vintage camera, leather-worn soft. For framing the good. Tears pricked. Jordan's squeeze said enough. Winter solstice brought quiet magic. Cabin getaway again. Snow blanketing woods, fire roaring. We hiked trails crunchy underfoot. Breaths visible. her scarf shared warmth intimate. Evenings mulled wine steaming we'd read poetry. Audre Lorde her voice velvet on verses of love's fire. Then act them. Bodies oiled by flames slow grinds on the hearthrug, her whispers echoing lines as we peaked, souls bared. Spring wedding neared, rehearsals in parks blooming riot, petals drifting like confetti. Bachelorette low-key karaoke dives, belting show tunes off-key. Jordan's surprise drag performance drawing roars, her strut owning the stage, wink for me alone. Rehearsal dinner, dad's toast halting but heartfelt. To futures worth more. Applause thundered, her hand under table, thumb circling palm, promise. June sun baked the rooftop, guests in linen, string quartet lilting. I waited at the arch, heart thunder as she appeared. Gown flowing, eyes locked, aisle petals soft under her heels. Vows exchanged, rings sliding cool. In shadows and light, you're my worth. Kiss sealed, cheers erupted, her taste eternal. Reception swirled. Dances swaying, cake smeared in laughs. First dance slow under stars, her head on my shoulder whisper. Forever. Honeymoon in Provincetown. Beaches dune-kissed, queer haven humming. Days biking trails scented salt pine. Nights on decks, her silhouette against sunsets. Love-making tidal. Waves crashing sink to our moans, bodies salty, release oceanic. Back life bloomed. Hail Tech thrived under new guard, Jordan Consulting. Us launching a fund, queer artists, her capital my vision. Gallery permanent, shows rotating stories untold. Dad visited often, stories flowing easier. His pride quiet but vast. Years layered, but that dawn by the bean? Echoed always, the promise that turned failure to fire. 5 years on, the penthouse had evolved. Walls lined with my prints, her awards shelved casual. A nursery corner prepped with tiny onesies, the hum of impending family. IVF whispers turned real. Donor selected, shots stinging but hope sweeter. Mornings, her hand on my still flat belly, kiss soft. Our future. Workdays split. Me curating exhibits nationwide. Trains clicking rhythmic, capturing lives in light. Her jetting to panels, voice commanding stages on equity. Evenings reunited, takeout sprawled, feet tangled on couch. Her laugh at my bad puns a bomb. Challenges came gentle now, funding dips, creative blocks. But we navigated tandem, therapy check-ins voicing kinks. Date nights reclaiming spark. Jazz clubs dim, her thigh pressed mine in booths, homeward cabs heated. Door barely shut before clothes flew. Hall walls thumping to our urgency. Climaxes echoing like applause. Dad's decline crept, dementia fogging edges, stories looping, but visits anchored. Puzzles piece slow, his hand in mine, Jordan charming tales from his youth drawing grins. Hospice loomed but grace lingered. His last lucid words, eyes clear. You made it right, girls. Passing quiet, us holding vigil. Grief a wave we rode together. Her arms my harbor through nights of sobs. Dawn comforts in tangled sheets. Touches tender rebuilding. Legacy bloomed. Fun scholarships, our names etched on plaques. Youth centers buzzing with her codes, my lenses. Pride marches we led, floats, rainbows riot. Her hand high-fiving kids. Mine snapping joy eternal. Anniversary 10th. Vow renewal on that rooftop. Guests intimate, sunset gilding rings. Vows deeper. Through failures forged, worth infinite. Dance under lights, her whisper. More every day. Legacy whispered next. Our child born screaming fierce. Auburn wisps like mine, hazel glint hers. Nursery nights, her rocking tiny form. Lullabies low, my camera clicking soft moments. Family fractal. Years stacked but core held. 2 women, empires built not of stone but soul. From that kitchen freight to promises dawnlit, worth proved not in gold, but gaze held, hand clasped, love's quiet roar. In the end failure? Just the frame for this masterpiece.